You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after a long day of baseball for the Braves. A doubleheader split against the Philadelphia Phillies. The magic number shrunk a little bit, but maybe not as much as it could have. But the Braves were able to pick up a win in Game 1. Come close, but not quite in Game 2 in splitting this doubleheader. But we did see some history from Matt Olson. We'll talk all about that, the return of Kyle Wright, and, of course, the continued home run hitting ways of the Braves that helped them to win a very back-and-forth game in the opener of this twin bill and this 4-game series between these two teams. Before we get into all that, I want to remind you, as always, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. You click that bell, you'll get a notification every time we drop a new episode, so I highly recommend that. Leave us a like and a comment. We appreciate those, and subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. Jake, all in all, as I said, a long day of baseball, but a pretty good one for the Braves on a number of different fronts. Clearly, at worst, you wanted to split this twin bill, but we also saw some pretty key performances and a rather nice return for a gentleman that we just want to see healthy and ready to make an impact down the stretch.
Yeah, I thought it was a good day overall. Getting that first one, obviously very important anytime in a doubleheader, but especially this one where you really didn't know how Game 2 was going to go on the pitching side of things, and it turns out it didn't go very well. So good thing that they were able to hold on to that first game, even though it got a little bit rocky there late.
Yeah, it did, but I would say, as we'll get into Game 2 a little bit later, I have seen worse over the course of this season and, of course, in Braves history, but we'll get into all of that. Let's dive into the one the Braves actually won, though. When in the win column, game number 143 of the year, Braves improving to 94-49 in Game 1 of this twin bill. 10 runs, 11 hits, no errors, 7 men left on base. It did take extra innings, but the Braves got it done. Phillies dropped to 78-65 after that one. 8 runs, 9 hits, 2 errors, 6 men left aboard. Raisel Iglesias picked up the win despite a blown save, which we'll get into momentarily. Jose Alvarado, the loss in relief for the Phillies. Kirby Yates' 4th save. Charlie Morton was the man who started this game. And the Braves and the Phillies, we know, Jake, these are two good offenses. We expected to see the kinds of things we saw in Game 1. We had back-to-back homers from Ronald Acuña Jr. and Michael Harris, though not in that order, so flip those around. But back-to-back homers nonetheless. That was impressive. Had a big hit off the bench from Kevin Pillar in extra innings, but it just didn't seem like the Braves were finding it very easy to put the Phillies away, which I think speaks to what we've seen between these two teams in the not-too-distant past.
Yeah, I mean, again, very good offenses. You know that coming in with these two teams. The Philadelphia Phillies have one of the better offenses in baseball in a lineup, especially at the top. And I think that's what you saw in that first game, especially the top of that order is very difficult. And I think maybe one of the few lineups in baseball that can match up with the top of the order that the Braves have. So you expect a lot of runs there. Charlie, I thought it was a solid performance overall from him in this one. Able to give you 6 innings in the first game of a doubleheader. I thought that was huge for Charlie Morton and the Braves in this one. Like I said, I know he gave up 4 runs. Didn't get a lot of help from the defense either. A couple of cut plays there that, kind of messed him up. So I thought maybe he pitched a little bit better than his line. He did have the 4 walks, but 2 of those are Harper, and I understand wanting to pitch around him. But if you're going to do that, then you got to get Alec Boehm out, and he did not do that. So, again, overall, I thought it was just a fine start for Charlie Morton.
Yeah, I thought it was certainly serviceable. And as you mentioned, you wanted to make sure that you got at least 6 innings out of your Game 1 starter, and Charlie was able to provide that. His final, his final line was 4 earned runs on 6 hits with 4 walks and 9 strikeouts. So he did have the swing and miss working, but it was just kind of a battle for him. 104 pitches to get through those innings. Braves got him an early run in the first, another in the second. Phillies tied it in the bottom half of the third. Braves answered with 3 in the 5th. Phillies 2 in the 5th inning. Braves with 3 more in the 6th inning. The Phillies scored twice in the 7th, twice in the 9th. The Braves took a page out of the Phillies book. They scored twice in the 10th inning. And how about Kevin Pillar coming off the bench after Bryce Harper homered to tie things up in the bottom half of that 9th inning against Raisel Iglesias? A play at second base that I'm sure Ozzie Albies would like to have to do over again. His throw to first, not nearly in time to beat Trey Turner. That kept the game going. You give Bryce Harper opportunities. We've learned this over the last decade or so. This can end poorly for an opposing team, and it did for the Braves. But obviously, going to extras, it could have been worse, I guess, was kind of the theme, especially at the latter half of the day. But Kevin Pillar with a big pinch hit single off Alvarado to put the Braves on the board. And then Orlando Arcia makes it a 2-run 10th inning to put the Braves ahead. That, I thought, was a pretty nice example of this Braves team. It's not the same guys every single night that are going to beat you. It can be someone off the bench. It could be someone up from AAA in there running at second base, a guy like Forrest Wall. It could just about be anybody on this roster if you give him a chance.
Yeah, it could be. We've talked about before, just the ability of these guys who haven't played in a while and they come off the bench like Pilar and get a big hit. And then Arcia, who's gotten clutch hits all year long, comes up with a big hit there as well to get that add-on run, which is so key with the Manfred runner that you have out there who you got to score, but to get one more there is very huge in extra innings. So thought that was big. And the Ozzie error, look, he hasn't been great defensively this year. It's no surprise at this point. We've seen it. It hasn't been great. At the same time, Iglesias has to move past that and make a good pitch, and he didn't to a really dangerous hitter. That pitch was right down the middle, and a good hitter like Bryce Harper does what you're supposed to do with that pitch. But yeah, Ozzie, got to make that play. Trey Turner's moving fast. Maybe he tried to rush it a little bit. It was going to be a close play either way, but one that he definitely should make and needs to make.
Yeah, I do think that is the case. And Ozzie, I know it may be more recency than anything. There have been a couple of tough plays, but I certainly don't feel like Ozzie has wandered into the level of being a liability in the outfield. I've gotten it all year about Eddie Rosario, and I understand, and I'm a little bit surprised when there's not somebody going in defensively in left field. I know you and I have talked about it on a number of different occasions. I don't know if the Braves have reached the point where they want to start pulling Ozzie Albies in case they do end up in extra innings and you don't have that potent bat available to you a little bit later on. But perhaps we'll get into that another time, or perhaps we won't, and he'll make all the plays he needs to, and it won't come up as often as it has of late. But the Braves with their 10-8 win, Ronald Acuña Jr. 2 for 5 in the game. A home run is 36, couple of runs batted in, couple of runs scored. We'll talk more about those. And stole his 65th base of the year. That makes him the only player in baseball history with 35-plus homers and 65-plus steals. I'm not going to call it a club. He's just the first and only guy to ever do it, so we'll leave it at that. But the Braves and Michael Harris, again, he just continues to show you reasons why he could hit anywhere in the lineup for a number of different clubs. He gives the Braves a MLB record-tying 9th hitter with 15 home runs, Jake. He's got an outside shot at 20. I'm not going to say he won't do it. Orlando Arcia is kind of knocking on that door, but as we've seen, the Braves are power and then some, and they showed it off in both halves of this doubleheader.
Yeah, that's why you can never count this offense out. I mean, both of these games, offense scored a good number of runs, a number of runs that typically is going to win you a lot of games. And Michael Harris, I've said it before, there's just no reason he shouldn't be a perennial 2020 type of player. I know he got off to the slow start this year, but coming on late, like you said, just 4 home runs away now from that 2020 season, which he just missed last year in his rookie season. I mean, to me, that's the floor for this guy. For me, I just think he's capable of even more than that. And it's really amazing what he's done when he was, let's be honest, one of the worst hitters in baseball for a month plus at the start of this season. And the turnaround that he had is just incredible.
Yeah, it has been. It's been one of the big reasons why the Braves have been the best team in baseball all year long, but particularly after they picked up steam in the month of June. It was, I don't think, any coincidence that Michael Harris really turned it on as well. Braves had to make a couple of roster moves after the game in order to get some pieces that they needed into the right place. They needed Kyle Wright to come off the injured list. He did. Dylan Lee was optioned down to Gwinnett to open up a spot for Kyle Wright. We'll get into game 2 in just a moment. But before we do, I want to let you know about one of our great sponsors. This episode of the Braves Postcast brought to you by Sleeper. As the MLB playoffs are right around the corner, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to get 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is right now. There's all kinds of great players. We see quite a few of them up and down this Braves lineup. We talk about them all the time. Pick more or less stats for these stars like home runs, hits, strikeouts, whatever you like, and more for up to a 100-time payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. Use the promo code Locked On. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. Game 2 of this doubleheader, it was Kyle Wright on the mound for the Braves, and a very rough greeting, a rude greeting in a place that can be very unkind to opposing pitchers. We know that about Citizens Bank Park, but Kyle Wright really didn't seem to have it dialed in the 7-5 loss for the Braves in Game 2. 4 of those runs plated against him in the first inning. I thought he was able to kind of settle in a little bit after that. I know that going out for the 4th inning didn't work out for him as well, but overall, you wanted to see him get the pitch count up, and you want to see him knock the rust off, Jake, because I still think Kyle Wright has bigger and better innings, more important innings to throw for the Braves this year.
He does. Hopefully, we'll see in what capacity. I know Smoltz talked about it on the broadcast. We've talked about it here, whether it's going to be a starter or reliever. I think that's what the Braves got to find out down the stretch here. And clearly, maybe some adrenaline, obviously some rust, and a guy that should probably be still making his 4th rehab appearance at Gwinnett. But, able to work through that and get through the 2nd and 3rd inning and then have the chance to go back out for the 4th inning. I think that has to say something, hopefully, at least maybe a little bit of positive there for Kyle Wright. No, he doesn't love giving up hits to the 8 and 9 hole hitter before having to exit there, but still, to be able to get through that first inning, even I thought he wasn't even going to make it through that first inning. So to be able to do that and then get 2 more, again, I think that's maybe one of the little positives you can take out of this one, but clearly some rust there for him that he's going to have to continue to work on to, again, see what kind of role he can play for this Braves team in the postseason.
Yeah, and it's all about those reps, and that's what he was getting in this start. As you mentioned, Sunday would have been his 4th rehab start. That was the plan for him, to get at least 4 and then decide. But the Braves kind of got in a crunch as far as arms, and really arms that they could lean on, and felt like Kyle Wright might be able to give him a little bit of something. And I think that, we'll see how they handle him going forward and how they want to mix him in and in what role, as you mentioned. But his first start since May the 3rd, it had been quite a while for him. 3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 6 earned runs, a couple of walks, and 3 strikeouts on 62 pitches. So as you can tell, the pitch count hadn't really been able to elevate in the minor leagues to the level that you'd like to have had it at to bring him back for his first big league start. It was a 7-5 loss for the Braves, who scored those 5 runs on 7 hits with 1 error, dropping to 94 and 50. Phillies 79 and 65 as of the close of this doubleheader. 7 runs, 8 hits, couple of errors for them. Michael Lorenzen was shaky, but he was able to get it done. He's 9 and 9 now. Kyle Wright taking the loss, drops to 0 and 2, and Craig Kimbrell, his 23rd save of the year. As far as relievers, and then we'll turn the page to some history that was made by Matt Olson as far as Braves franchise history is concerned with the long ball. Jackson Stevens, back from seemingly out of nowhere, where he was a big part of the Braves bullpen a year ago, was injured some in AAA, had really started to tune things up the last couple of months. 3 2/3 innings. This is what I would call yeoman's work, because it definitely saved the bullpen on what could have been a very rough day in a doubleheader and could have put the Braves in a deficit heading into the final 2 games of the series. 3 2/3 innings, Jake, of 1 earned run charged to him, a couple of hits and 5 strikeouts with 1 walk.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. And this is what he did a lot for the Braves last year, just kind of those, different roles, whether it's going to extra innings or bridging that gap. A starter leaves early. Jackson Stevens did a tremendous job last year of that. So him coming back, being able to do that's huge, going 3 2/3 innings, soaking up some of those innings. And then Pierce Johnson, the last inning in a third that he threw this, really impressive. No hits, no walks, no runs, 4 strikeouts. He continues his great work since coming over. So I thought that was great as well. Kept the Braves in that game, gave them a chance late, had the tying run to the plate in Acuña, which you'll take anytime, but unfortunately wasn't able to get it done this time around. But yeah, bullpen, did its job in relief of Kyle Wright, keeping the Braves offense in there and giving them a chance.
Yeah, they did. 6th inning was the big moment for the Atlanta Braves in this one, or for Matt Olson, I should say. The 3rd inning was the big moment for him. 50th home run of the year was hit in this one. 49 went out in the 3rd, and then in the 7th inning, he hit another home run, so that gave him 2 on the day and gives him 50 on the year. Just the 2nd Braves player ever to reach that plateau. He is now 1 away from Andrew Jones' single-season home run record for the Atlanta Braves franchise. 2 for 3, 4 runs batted in. He's up to 127 on the year now. Just another big day from Matt Olson, who, after an 18-game home run drought that might have had you kind of wondering if he was going to make a run at 50 homers or the franchise record, Jake, I would say that Matt Olson has answered in the affirmative, and he has 18 games left to break this record.
Yeah, unless he goes into another, 16, 18 game drought, he seems like he's on a good pace to break that record. And I just right now, again, we talked about it yesterday. It's just in one of those zones you can't pitch to the guy. I mean, the first home run he hit it's a ball that's barely off the dirt, down and in. I know that's kind of a wheelhouse for a lefty, but he just goes down and golfs it out to right field. I mean, he is just on one of those heaters right now that we've seen, honestly, for a good bit of this second half of the season. Like I said, even during that drought, we talked about it, he's still getting on base, getting his hits, just wasn't getting the home run. So, I mean, he's been fantastic for the Braves this season. And I've talked about it, the fact that he's had some dry spells here and there, but he's limited it to, really no more than a week. And he's just been so great this year for the Braves. And he's right back in that MVP discussion. Obviously, I think Ronald, who had a pretty good day himself, is up there at the top.
Yeah, I would say the home runs in the 3rd and 6th inning to get Matt Olson up to 50. If you were looking for a nice big number to build an MVP case around, Well, 50 home runs, leading Major League Baseball in homers and runs batted in, and doing the things Matt Olson has done is going to get him some MVP consideration regardless of where he finishes in that voting. Michael Harris, 2 for 4, another home run in this one. That gives him 16 on the year. Matt Olson, though, the 50 home runs, not just rare in Braves franchise history, only 16 men in National League history have hit 50 or more home runs. The last to do so, Pete Alonso in 2019. Giancarlo Stanton before him. It just doesn't happen altogether too often, other than in the height of the steroid era where it happened a whole bunch of times. This is a rarity, and in today's game, quite an accomplishment for Matt Olson, who, again, is only the second Braves player to reach this plateau, and we are talking about a team that's had no shortage of sluggers and the all-time home run leader in its franchise's history as well. The 127 runs batted in, just 8 away from the modern club record set by Eddie Matthews in 1953. That's the year that the Braves moved to Milwaukee. So it's been a minute since somebody has driven in as many runs as Matt Olson has a chance to this year, and we'll see if he's able to break that franchise record as well. Did want to point out Nicky Lopez getting the start in Game 2 in place of Ozzie Albies at second base. He really kept that inning going in the third with a really great swim move and didn't get himself nearly caught off of second base. That kept the inning going, and that allowed Matt Olson to come up and hit a 3-run homer that at least got the Braves back into it against Lorenzen early.
And you talked about it, or we talked about it earlier, the fact these guys can come off the bench and make contributions like this. Lopez just barely missed a home run before that great swim move. And then I already mentioned he got the hit to bring Acuña up to the plate, the tying run in the 9th inning. So we know he plays great defense, but giving you a little bit of offense as well when he does get an opportunity.
Yep, he has done that, and it's been another great pickup for the Braves. You mentioned Pierce Johnson's great work in this one as well. The Braves pitching staff does come out of this doubleheader not having been put completely through the ringer and messing them up for the rest of this series. So we'll see how they're able to pitch and, of course, and what they're able to do. When you got Max Fried on the mound in your next game, you feel pretty good about that, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Before we do that, though, I have to tell you about another of our great sponsors. That, of course, is Game Time. As this episode of the Braves Postcast is brought to you by Game Time, the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You get images of your seats before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email to find them. Snag those tickets without the stress at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Braves and Phillies will meet for Game 3 of this 4-game series. It comes your way on Tuesday. Max Fried, 7-1, a 2.70 ERA. Zach Wheeler on the hill for the Phillies, always a tough customer, 11-6 with a 3.49 mark. Jake, I feel like Fried has really been throwing his best baseball of late, highlighted by that outstanding start against the LA Dodgers. The Braves could use another great start from their ace in hostile territory to take one more step towards clinching the National League East, which they could do with wins the next 2 days in Philadelphia.
Yeah, great pitching matchup here. Looking forward to seeing what Max Fried can do. Like you said, been throwing the ball really great his last couple times out. And last time he faced Philadelphia, it was a rough one. I know he's coming off a sickness there, but in the postseason, that Game 1 where that is the big advantage for the Braves in that Game 1, Fried didn't have it in that one. And again, maybe he had some sickness, so maybe he's looking to get a little payback in this one, and just looking for him to continue to get back to himself. And like I said, I think he's been taking big steps in that direction to be the ace of this Braves team going into the postseason.
Yeah, and they certainly like having Max Fried back at this time of year. He is, as we talked about, the importance of it with Kyle Wright, getting more reps and feeling comfortable and getting the rust knocked off. I think Max Fried has done that over the past month plus that he has been back in rotation for the Braves. He'll be gunning for win number 8 of the year. Zach Wheeler looking for win number 12 as the Braves and Phillies meet at 6:40 p.m. Eastern time at Citizens Bank Park on Tuesday. That'll wrap things up for this edition of the Braves Postcast. As always, we appreciate you riding along with us. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. Make sure you leave us a like, a comment. We appreciate all those. And subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. Once again, your final score in this one, a 10-8 win for the Braves in Game 1, a 7-5 defeat in Game 2 as they split the twin bill with the Phillies. Back at it again for Game 3 on Tuesday. We'll talk to you after that. And until then, so long, everyone.